that new?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the May 8th, 2025 Rockingham County Board of Commissioners meeting. We call this meeting to order, and I'd like everyone please to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So in the Board of Commissioners room, we have Commissioner Godu, Commissioner Tombarello, and myself, Commissioner Coyle. Also in the room, we have Allison Kivakowski, Jason Henry, Chantel Jaconin, Chuck Nickerson, Robin Bernier, Jude Gates, and Layla Matilla, and former Commissioner Kevin Coyle, member of the public. In Zoom land, I see Pat Conway, Aaron Coker, Kathy Stacy, Katie Casey, and then good afternoon. And there may be
Someone called Brentwood, New Hampshire.
Brentwood, New Hampshire. Would you like to identify yourself? You don't have to, but you can. Not seeing anyone, we'll move on to the consent agenda. And first we have the April 10th, 2025 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 10th, 2025 public and non-public meeting minutes.
Second,
Any discussion?
done well as usual.
Yes, agreed.
Take a way to start the meeting.
No tabling today. Okay, Commissioner Tombarello.
Yes.
Commissioner Godu.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have the agency nursing staff report, which is informational. Does anybody want to speak to this? I'll just note in this last month, I mean, just supporting the good trends. What I see is that we have 9 contracts not utilized that we're not utilizing right now. And we're currently using 8, we have 8 contracts with 61 individuals for contracted nursing. So we are consistently seeing that decline, inversely proportionate to the increase in our own staffing.
Yeah, it's about a 10 to 15 drop going back to the August, September. And I know Autumn has, I think, 3 more staff members coming through in the next orientation as well. So
Fantastic.
we've been seeing a really nice kind of increase in that.
That's great. So I just keep on moving forward, plugging away that way. It's just been great. We started at the beginning of the year and
And it was a mess.
we were in a really difficult position. And our goal was 17, and it's just, we're projected to far exceed that goal. And thank you so much. So for everybody. Okay. Moving on, we have the payroll. For May 9th.
A motion to approve the payroll expense in the amount of $1,580,736.89 for period ending May 3rd.
Second,
Discussion. It's been really consistent, so it's good to see.
Yep.
On the motion, Commissioner Godu,
yes.
Commissioner Tombarello, and I vote yes. Next, we move right to reports and any commissioner updates.
Well, I'll just offer that I just came back from a tour of the building and it's in amazing shape. There are walls and carpets and glass that are up. We can really see how it's coming along. It looks like to me it's going to be a fantastic place for everyone to work. We'll have a good meeting space and I mean, there's still a lot of work to do, but it looked great and I think we're in good shape.
Yeah.
I just want to let you guys know, about an hour ago, I was notified that I am not going to be the Pope. So
It's gonna be an American Catholic, but not this one.
Those of you who had a chance at it, I will not be the Pope, so that's all I have.
It's hard to follow that. However, just a few housekeeping. Tomorrow, we have the executive committee meeting regarding the third quarter budget review. The tonight we have at 5 o'clock our public hearing for the commissioner's budget. And, oh, it looks like we might have some additional guests and, followed by, we have the executive committee meeting on the budget on May 23rd. We continue to participate in subcommittee meetings, the delegation subcommittee meetings. And I think, I can probably speak so far, the ones I've participated in have gone really well. Good questions by, members of the subcommittee, and otherwise, it's been a supportive process, so. Come on in, welcome.
Are we in the right place?
Yeah, are you looking for the Board of Commissioners meeting?
We're looking for the meeting about the sheriffs and the ICE.
Sure, so this is our regular Board of Commissioners meeting. There is a portion at the end for public comment with which you can
But
speak.
this is where it's.
You are in the right place, please have a seat.
Welcome. I'll sit here since
Okay.
I'm not part of the group.
Or wherever
Thank
you feel comfortable. So that concludes, just a little update in where we're going. We'll move on to the, county attorney new hires. I'm sorry, public records requests for policies and procedures.
Right.
So,
I came to realize that as a county, we do not have a solid policy on how we handle, 91A, right to know, requests. We've handled them okay, but now we seem to be getting a few more, and I want to make sure that we know what we're doing and we're on the same page. I checked with the sheriff's department, who does lots of them, because especially during political season, there's all kinds of people looking for 91As on, well, the candidates are, they're just doing investigations and stuff, so they're used to getting it. And they have a good, solid policy. And I've reviewed the policy, and I've quizzed them on some issues of the policy. And I've kind of concluded that they have a very good policy, and I'd like to consider adopting it. Essentially, our obligation is to have the records available for review. And review could be video or electronic. Could be video or paper. And I think we need to decide what's convenient for the county. And then if people want a copy, it's 25 cents, $1 for the first page and 25 cents for all the other pages. And that is the same for a USB, pages on the USB, or pages that are actually printed. Now, I kind of took them to task a little bit about the USB part.
yeah,
There are expenses involved in us collecting, like if we had to have Robin collect 1,000 pages worth of stuff, there's some expense that comes with that. And they've been using that policy in that manner for a long time, and have had some people who are, a little bit controversial, that push on them. But they have not gotten any complaints or any pushback for this policy. Now, I'm not saying we should adopt a policy today, but that's what I've observed, and I think we should get some more input, but I think that's a good place to start.
I haven't looked at it, so I would look at it.
yeah. I think it's fine that we should look at that in conjunction with an overall policy, and maybe talk to our attorneys who are versed in 91A, who have
Absolutely.
worked with, because although I'm sure this is a very good policy, but I think it's worthwhile to get legal to vet it. There has been some changes in the law, specifically as it relates to electronic records, and I'm not sure if legally we can charge a per page for electronic access, like you're putting it on a USB to charge a per page.
I thought it was one fee, like $10.
Yeah, and you're
Well-
saying that they have a practice of $1 plus 25 cents per page, which if you're doing that and putting it on a USB and you have 1,000 pages, it's almost, it's very expensive, and I don't know if that could be viewed as an impediment to access. So I think we need to, and maybe there's because of that time constraint, there's a pricing scheme that works better, what we want to adopt. We need a place to start. You're saying this is a place to start.
I was surprised that, I kind of took up the test. That doesn't seem right. That's what, that, my opinion was just like yours, starting out. But then Major Bashaw gave me lots of reasons why who they've tested it with, who they've, consulted with, and of course, it's still one of those things. You ask 4 attorneys, you might get 4 answers, you know, or opinions, right?
Be
So it's
careful,
not
there's a lot of
absolute till
attorneys.
everything's tested in court. We can do 2 right now.
I do know next week, Primex, I did see the schedule for Primex.
Yeah.
Oh, that might be a good time to test some of these things.
Yeah.
That's good. I
I'm
know there was a
looking
reason
forward
about
to
that.
attending that session in particular. It's always a
That's
valuable.
probably a
So-
good place to
just-
deal
yeah.
with.
And also, you know, maybe like perhaps the place to starting point is Primex. Because Primex may have a policy that they help, you know, they give out for
Sure,
municipalities.
in different departments. Yeah.
Or municipalities generally, or organizations generally for a 91A policy, so. I think, thank you for, I mean, it's valuable to get the ball rolling, but for your efforts, and I think we should use, like, obviously, don't reinvent the wheel, let's start there, let's see what, Primex has, and then maybe we can, sort of cobble together the best of what we have and, send it off for legal review.
Agreed.
And I think the biggest thing, you know, the real serious way that the 3 of us can get in trouble is doing something wrong with 91A. And that's how we're gonna get ourselves in trouble. Then we can make some decisions that might not be the best, but we could get ourselves in some big trouble with 91A. So I think
Transparency.
look into it just to protect ourselves. I don't want a 91A infraction with me, so I wanna learn what I'm supposed to do, and what I don't wanna be doing.
Yeah.
So,
Leila, did you have something
Yes,
to add? Thank you.
so that's all well and good for emails and documents and letters and such, but as far as text messages go, that's a whole different
Can of
procedure.
I saw a document come by, but I haven't had an opportunity to read that,
Yeah,
information.
I looked
It came
into
from
it.
Robin, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You wanna give us a little
Sure,
hint?
I reached out to AT&T when the subject came up to try to just figure out exactly what it is that we can obtain. AT&T is who our primary cell phone provider is, and they only hold 48 hours worth of information. And if we were to ask for it, it would need to be via a subpoena or some sort of a
Oh, thanks.
formal request. Wouldn't be, I can't call and say, can you send me the records from all these phones? You know, and then after that, you have to redact, you know.
And it's $70 a request.
Yes. So
So
Want to share this with everyone?
we have to
I
submit.
can't
it.
read
I
it.
think I emailed it to you
I
all.
believe
Yeah.
that's the correct
Thank
process.
you.
Okay,
That's the one that, I think you sent something to us.
But they only have 48 hours worth of
So
information, which
how do we investigate that? If we're requested to look at text messages, what's the? What, I mean, what do we do? It's not like nobody's interested in what happened in the last 48 hours. They're interested in, what's happening, you know, what happened last year.
The information is generally stored locally on the telephone. So we would have to rely on the users or the phone holders to print screenshots and submit that information. That would be the only.
And if
because
they don't have screenshots, then they don't have
then
it.
they're just not there, right? No other way to get it.
I do know that some members of our staff have a regular policy of deleting all text messages.
we should not be deleting text
can-
messages. I think generally the rule is you're not supposed to delete any messages that are county related, any business related, you should not.
I have a possible solution. After that discovery,
Yeah.
I reached out to Civic Plus, who they can provide us with some sort of a software that would allow us to archive some of those things. We have a demo scheduled on Monday to look into that and see if it's something that might work.
Great,
It may put all the information in one place for us as well, instead of having to go to a whole bunch of systems to complete the rights and request.
Well, that's the important part, because we don't want these requests to become a burden.
that sounds like
Yeah.
great, thank you for following up with that.
And again, Primex will probably help us
Yeah,
with that one on Wednesday.
yes.
Great, thanks, Robin.
For anyone that members of the public, do you guys want to grab some chairs? Yeah, Yeah, shall we go to the Hilton or?
Not there, I can explain what's going on. There will be more.
Oh, there are, okay. I think we would have to all go down. Do you guys, I guess we're just trying to decide if there's more people coming, so everybody isn't confined to this space, if we should move to the Hilton Auditorium so everybody can.
I'd like to ask a question. What is your intention? We don't have anything on our agenda discussing, your issue with ICE. There is an opportunity for public comment, and you're welcome to offer that public comment to us, even though we don't have anything on that subject on the agenda. That public comment section is at the end of our agenda. I guess we have an option to go to another room if you wanted to do it right now, or or you could wait till the end of our meeting to join us. I'm just trying to get a guess of what you guys are looking for.
We're not intending to interfere with your
We
normal
don't-
business. so
absolutely.
We can go ahead and continue with that, but I think a number of us do have comments that we would like to make during the general comment period.
Yes, so I think what probably makes sense is if we take a 5-minute, how hard will it be to get up and running? What do you think?
We're pretty ready.
Oh, okay.
The OAP in there.
I think they're probably done.
Hopefully they're done. I have a open enrollment thing going on right
Okay.
now, so hopefully that's finished up.
How about this? Why don't we proceed for a few more minutes? If
We
you
have to
guys
talk
don't
about
mind
that.
standing, if you guys would like
Make
to
sure.
take a seat at chairs around the table, you're welcome to, or pull a chair back just for if anybody cares to have seats, just because. And.
I'll have to get out and check and see if they're out of there.
Yeah.
You need that?
Yeah.
It might just, they might be.
They had to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping.
That's what I'm kind of waiting. I
You can
think
sit in these chairs too, in the corners. That's where I would sit.
Okay.
I would just go continue with our meeting, and then
Get some stuff done.
Yeah, there's a couple more chairs over here. Great. Okay. Great. So I think, does anybody else have any other discussion with respect to the public records? Because, okay, so let's move on. We have the county attorney's approval of a new hire.
Make a motion to approve hiring 2 assistant county attorneys pursuant to New Hampshire RSA 7:33 -F as recommended by the county attorney with the approval of the attorney general's office pending.
second.
I'm inclined to table this for a further, just a non-public discussion prior to any making a motion. So I'd move to table this at this point.
If it's something regarding it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Okay, sure. I'll second the motion to
Okay.
table.
On the motion to table, Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay. That will be tabled. Next, we have facility operations line item transfer approval.
Make a motion to approve the line item transfer request in the amount of $20,506 dated May 5th, 2025, transferring from an expendable equipment, expendable equipment and software to telephone as recommended by the senior director of facilities planning and IT.
Second.
Discussion? What we're seeing is the downshift of costs. This went from consolidated to communications to, what is it, First Light to now to us. And just their increased costs are now being downshifted, so. And this is like the major infrastructure that we need. Is there anything?
It's a cost that's gonna come to an end, so we've
Oh,
purchased some equipment and we are gonna make a change, so this high cost will go away
oh, great.
by the end of June, so we won't see it in the next year. We'll have some costs, but not this.
Thank you,
This is
Robin.
crazy.
You're always at the front of cost savings for the county. You really are with respect to IT, so thank you. Anything else?
Nope.
On the motion, Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
Commissioner Godu?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have the Finance Office fiscal year 2025 Department of Corrections adult diversions write-offs.
I make a motion that Rockingham County approve fiscal year 2025 Department of Corrections adult diversion program write-offs totaling $3,280 as recommended by the Senior Director of Finance and the Superintendent of the Department of Corrections.
Second,
Any discussion?
Thank you.
On the motion, Commissioner Godu,
yes.
Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Next, we have Human Resources Exception Request, new appointment. Great,
Make a motion to approve an exception request pursuant to Personnel Policy 7-3 new appointment rate for a long-term care services employee PM as recommended by the Senior Director of Human Resources.
Second,
discussion?
maybe Allison wants to fill us in. I asked her a question and I felt satisfied that it was a reasonable request. Allison, do you want to?
Is this on the floor maintenance position?
Yes,
Okay, it was in a request as a technician, and I just wanted to let you know it's the floor maintenance operator. So I apologize for that correction.
but with respect to these positions, we actually have a couple exception requests, and what I saw with, to just talk generally, is that these are individuals coming in with a lot of experience, which justifies the above the midpoint request.
And that midpoint, just so you know, is gonna move with FY 26.
Yeah.
So they'll actually, if they had come in, they'll be under that midpoint when FY 26 is.
So we make those,
So-
great. So, great. On the motion, Commissioner Godu?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Tombrello, and I vote. Next, we have another exception request for a new appointment rate for long-term care services.
A motion to approve an exception request to Personnel Policy 7-3 new appointment rate for a long-term care services employee TD as recommended by the Senior Director of Human Resources.
Second,
Discussion? Same issue. Commissioner Tombrello?
Yes.
Commissioner Godu?
yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have an exception request 7-8 longevity pay at retirement.
A motion to approve an exception request, Personnel Policy 7-8 longevity pay at retirement for a long-term care services employee SD as recommended by the Senior Director of Senior Director of Human Resources.
Second,
Discussion?
this is the issue that I spoke with Allison about it, and that I thought was perfectly reasonable.
The issue,
Somebody has had is part-time employee and is not able to get it, the
A
regular
letter.
social security yet, and it seems appropriate. It's $450 or something like that, you know,
essentially,
longevity.
the policy
Bonus.
requires a certain letter. They, for reasons not of their own accord, they can't get the letter. So this is just making that accommodation so that we don't hold them strictly to the policy requirement.
That's
And
the one
she's
that
been a
had
good employee.
circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had the circumvent.
Yes.
Yeah.
So on the motion, Commissioner Tombrello.
Yes.
Commissioner Godu,
Yes,
and I vote yes. We have a general leave request for long-term care services.
I make a motion to approve a general leave request for nursing employee TM with county portion of all benefits to continue for a period May 11, 2025 through May 30, 2025, as recommended by the Senior Director of Long-Term Care Services and the Senior Director of Human Resources.
second,
Discussion? Do we anticipate that individual should be back?
They will be back, but they're on short-term disability, so
Okay.
that's kind of why we're doing the general leave.
Okay. On the motion, Commissioner Godu,
yes.
Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Next, we have a revised job description for facilities operations.
I'll make a motion to approve a revised job description for the Senior Director of Facilities, Planning and IT, effective May 8th, 2025, as recommended by the Senior Director of Human Resources.
Second,
Discussion?
I read a little bit of the overview. It all seems like housekeeping to me. No big, huge changes.
I agree. Commissioner Tombrello.
Yes.
Commissioner Godu,
Yes,
and I vote yes. Next, we have a new position request, effective date confirmation and facilities operating.
I'll make a motion to affirm the requested effective date of December 14, 2025 for one new fifth technician listed for the fiscal year 2026.
second,
Discussion. This is purely housekeeping matter, with respect to, budgetary 26 budget things that we've already discussed. So Any further discussion? Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
Commissioner Godu?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have long-term care services, the Sodexo Operations LLC Management Agreement.
We have a motion to approve the Sodexo Operations LLC Management Agreement for a term of 5 years, commencing on July 1st, 2025, and shall continue thereafter until terminated. And authorize the chair to sign all necessary documents as recommended by the Senior Director of Long-Term Care Services.
Second.
Discussion?
The only thing I was wondering, I looked at the wording, it says 5 years, but then at the end of July 1st, 2025, shall continue therefore until terminated. I don't know if is that worded the way it should be worded?
Well,
It's
it's
a
a
5-year.
five-year contract, but
Terminate before the 5 years?
if there's cause or, I mean, it's all laid out in the contract, the termination, if there is.
Contradicts itself. It says 5 years and then it says thereafter until terminated. So it just sounded weird to me.
Yeah, I think what it's really, I mean, it's to sign the contract, right? And it is a 5-year term, but if there's different provisions for early termination for cause or even without cause, depending on the
That's in the
circumstances.
contract.
That's all laid out and has been scrubbed by, I have to say, like, there's been a lot of review of that contract, so, do you want to?
Yeah, truly, Elaine, as always, has done a lot, even when we got the clean copy, making sure that it was the same piece. It's gone through Primex. It's gone through council, as well as I know Jason looked at it, I looked at it, Kate looked at it, Commissioner Foy looked at it. And Elaine, and we've had a lot of back and forth and kind of comments around it to have it as clear as possible.
Great. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I had, it was just a lot of questions. I don't have problems with it. At the very beginning, the first thing it says is that the contract is binding between the Rockingham County Rehabilitation or something like that, as opposed to buying between Rockingham County and Sodexo. And I'm thinking that it would be more proper that they're not making a contract with the nursing home, they're making a contract with the county, especially since there's 2 departments involved.
I think that's fair. Truthfully, it didn't catch my eye because I'm so used to the contracts being,
Saying that,
Yeah.
yeah,
but I can easily ask for that to be.
Strike the language.
and then I had a bunch of questions. First of all, do we ever have to pay meals tax?
I don't
Because
think we
it
feel-
says that we're gonna pay meals tax if it's applicable, but
It's not applicable.
is it never, I mean,
I believe the only time it comes into play is in the cafe. There's some instances around that, which is factored into the component. I don't mean to defer to you, but I know we've talked about around where it comes out of the essential revenue credit is my recollection, I think.
Yeah, I believe that for that kind of operation, they do have to put, meals tax on it, but it comes off the net credit
Yes.
that they give afterwards against the invoicing. But it's only that part of the operation.
are we all in agreement how the correctional officers are gonna pick up breakfast? That was something that was called out in the contract. I guess they are not gonna be moving
Right.
breakfast meals, but I guess they do move dinner and supper, or lunch and supper. And it was, how will the COs pick up and deliver?
Big man. Working up with them, we're okay.
You don't think there's a concern there? Okay. It mentions their increase, CPI, but it didn't say specifically which CPI and what source we were going to use as the appropriate CPI. I believe there is one that is put out by US Commerce or something that's a Northeast CPI. But I'm concerned that if there's a CPI for the country, a CPI for the region and CPI for the local, that when they decide how much extra they're gonna get in their contract, that they'll pick the CPI that has the highest rate.
I believe, and I apologize, I don't know exactly which page, I believe it says with mutual agreement.
Agreement on where, what can
What
you?
page?
or
Page
section?
21. The general support services allowance and management fee shall be increased by the percentage increase in the consumer price index, food away from home, average for the prior 12-month period. It just doesn't say which CPI. And there could be a number of sources that they derive that CPI from.
Oh, and the end date,
And what date?
and what date?
And then I didn't see there were a whole bunch of questions that looked like they were being addressed. Primex said, you know, I assume that they adopted all of Primex's language, except that there was one indemnity, unlimited liability, one-sided indemnity that was of concern. But I haven't had a chance to see the latest. I mean, I know it came over to us, but it just came over today or something, with that final version.
So, I mean, I think with. I'm just looking at some of your comments. So your concerns are obviously the header, that's easy fix. The CPI source and the last being the Primex changes.
Just to make sure
Yeah.
that they've all,
I mean, I think because it's been scrubbed so many times, by the time it's gotten here, I think we're at a place of like.
comfort for the rest of us.
Yes,
So I guess those two items,
Right.
I would like to consider changing.
I think that there's probably we could make the motion to approve with the changing the header, subject to the change of saying Rockingham County, which is a very simple one. I think the CPI source, I don't know, Chuck, do you have anything to?
So
suggest
what
or
we've
add?
done for the COLA for wage changes that we've done to January, Boston, Cambridge, Newton amount, because year over year, because that way it's published in February and we can get that number into our department budgets being issued out in March.
Okay,
So I guess if I had to have a
Make a
recommendation,
yes.
I'd probably say the January Boston, Cambridge, Newton CPI that's published in February, because then we can get into the department proposed budget.
So how does that relate to the Northeast CPI?
I'd have to compare. I mean, it might be, I mean, you would think overall that Boston, Cambridge, Newton would potentially be a higher reading, but maybe more accurate for our area as far as actual costs.
so,
Well, most importantly, we pick one. If that's your recommendation, you're the finance director,
It's my most.
of what we use, then I think that's fine,
Okay.
but I don't want them to pick which one.
did you say published in
Well,
January?
January, I'd say the
Yeah.
January one, because it is published in February, which gives us time to incorporate it into the departmental budgets for the next fiscal year.
So we can
So you,
that motion with those two.
yeah,
changes.
exactly. Do you want me to make the motion? Or are you comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Wrote the two of them down.
Yeah, I know, that's why. So I make a motion to approve the Sodexo Operations LLC Management Agreement for a term of 5 years commencing July 1st, 2025, and shall continue thereafter until terminated, with additional changes to said contract reflecting Rockingham County as the party, and subject to the CPI as defined by Boston, Cambridge, Newton, January CPI. And authorize the chair to sign all necessary documents as recommended by the Senior Director of Long-Term Care Services. Go now.
Second.
Sorry.
You want me to call the vote now? Switching
Yeah.
the roles?
Any further discussion?
No, that's all good.
On the revised motion, Commissioner Godu?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Tombrello, and I vote yes. Next, we have an adult medical daycare request for Easter Seals.
I'll make a motion to approve an adult medical daycare request dated April 29th, 2025 to Easter Seals for an additional client JC at an amount of $80 per day to 2 days per week as recommended by the Senior Director of Long-Term Care Services.
Second.
Any discussion? Just that our budget can support this, and we're thrilled to always add individuals that we can help support in adult medical care. Anything else? Commissioner Tombrello?
Yes,
Commissioner Godu?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have the compliance store facility agreement.
we have a motion to approve the compliance store facility agreement for the period beginning May 8, 2025 for a term of 1 year with automatic renewals for successive 1-year terms, and authorize the chair to sign all necessary documents as recommended by the Senior Director of Long-Term Care Services.
Second.
Discussion.
Nope.
Do you have any?
Nope. All good.
Commissioner Godu?
Yes.
Commissioner Tombrello?
Yes,
And I vote yes. Okay, we are now moving on to department head updates. And Superintendent Henry, take it away.
Sure. Currently 1:30 inside. Today, past 2 days, we've had OSHA training for command staff. Not that we're OSHA certified, but as inspection happened, I noticed that our chemicals are not necessarily labeled or and put away where they need to be, so we're just trying to pick up some things that make the place a little better, and the guys and girls have really liked it, so we're getting some good stuff out of that. Corrections week is all this week. The first full week in May is corrections week. We've had a lot of different food, we've had raffle prizes, and including some of our vendors who helped out with some things, and it's been going very well. This morning I gave out awards for Rookie of the Year, Officer of the Year, Supervisor of the Year, and Employee of the Year this morning. Well, that went very well. Major Banville just got back in last night. He went to Texas. He was Securus reached out to me and asked if we had somebody here that'd be interested in being on a committee that actually more of a panel that looks at new technology and gives input to things that would help out with corrections. And we selected him to go. He's one of 8 from around the country, and they'll fly him out a couple of times a year to kind of do this stuff. So very proud to have him representing basically all of New England. So, and yeah,
It's just, that's a real compliment. There are 8 individuals that were selected to be, and obviously it speaks to Major Banville's intellect and thoughtfulness and approach. So that's a real compliment to Rockingham.
it's a compliment anyway. So Rockingham, we've always tried to be, leading edge in different things and willing to try things out. It makes for the inmates, anything I'll work for them or our staff. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Allison Kibakowski, our Senior Director of Human Resources. I'm going to give some formal identification just so for everyone in the room. We don't usually have this many guests, and so now you know who's talking.
Hi, good afternoon. It's just a really busy time for us as we're gearing up for open enrollment. We are getting the HRAS system updated with the data around the rates and stuff like that. We've also been hosting meetings for those employees that are on the OAP plan that will be sunsetting June 30th to kind of help migrate them over to the 2 high deductible plans. We are preparing for the quarterly, getting ready for those positions. I usually meet with, or a couple of us meet with Representative Edwards. However, he has been tied up. So tomorrow, if he's there, I'm sure it'll be a quick briefing on what we're presenting. And we're just super busy right now. It's that time of year. So thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Next, Chantal Jaconin, our Administrator of Long-Term Care Services.
Good afternoon. Our census is 136 at the nursing home. I think that's 2 weeks in a row now. Our census at assisted living is 48, although we have a move-in anticipated today, and that'll bring us to full capacity there. I'm happy to report that we still don't have any cases in regards to an outbreak or flus, etc., in either the assisted living or the nursing home. Other than that, the last week has really been around its nurses week this week. We go into nursing home week next week, and we had our kickoff call for our policy portal on Monday. So working on getting some of that through and figuring out kind of the configurations for that. The compliance store, just to kind of touch on, that was just approved will have unlimited users access, and it's something that'll potentially, I know we spoke about it, Jude and Jason, off of what you said. It's policies toward our regulations, however, they're based around different things such as OSHA, and there's policies built out that have chemical cleaning, different facilities components. And I'd be more than happy to share the usernames so that you'd be able to pull anything, there's audits and things built in there. So I will be happy to share that with anyone that is interested in being able to utilize some of that.
It's gonna be such a great tool. I mean, to have an online access to.
Yeah,
our-
and it has an alert, which won't mean as much to some of you, but it'll have an alert email, I believe weekly, that talks about any of the trends or changes from a regulatory standpoint, and it's up to long-term care regulations. However, built into long-term care regulations, there's a lot of policies and things we're held to and standards that impact other pieces, and facilities have a large portion of our life safety policies as well. So it'll have templates, forms, audits, and policies built into it. So I will, once that is through, I'm happy to give you usernames.
Well worth
For
our,
those.
the price of admission, you
Yeah.
know, it's like having access to that, it saves lawsuits, it saves lives, it's really
It's wonderful,
valuable.
and I've used it in the past, and it's very simplistic in its design, and it's continually updated. And it's, for the cost of it, it is significantly lower than a lot of the competitors, as well. So happy to share that. Other than that, it's just kind of business as usual.
Thank you, Chantel. Next, we have Chuck Nickerson, our Senior Director of Finance.
Still busy with the grants, obviously, single audit work continues as well. Financial statement audit work continues as well. We do have Vashon and Quickgate, the new auditors come out in June for preliminary testing on fiscal year end 6/30/25. Obviously, it's budget time of year, so right now, most of the subcommittee budget meetings are done. We're down to 5, 4 of which will happen right after the ending of the executive committee meeting tomorrow morning. And then the last one will be Monday for salary subcommittee. Had a visit, brief visit. Kate Horgan, myself, and David Ross from Hillsborough County met with Senator Innes in Concord at the State House yesterday. The meeting went well. Again, we stressed that things are important to all 10 counties as far as things regarding the county cap, that Medicaid, reduction for the provider rate and other items. It went well. He had obviously a very long day before on Tuesday because they went at State House until about 11 at night, I think it was. So, but he heard us out and it was a positive meeting. And after, that was our last, visit with the state senators. We'll continue to keep an eye on things in Concord, where things go from there. I think early June is when the Senate would be voting on their proposed budget. I think June 4th or so. So again, we'll keep an eye on where things go. You might have heard that the Senate came like halfway between on the revenue side, where the House was like $700 million less than the governor, and I think 400 million less than the next biennium, or next year, I should say. And the Senate came in like, I think 200 million above where the House had on the revenue. So we'll see where that ends up. Obviously, that's gonna play a role to see what programs that got cut out of the governor's budget actually get funded. Yeah, so again, and obviously keep an eye on things federal wise too. There's been some positive updates as far as some of the Medicaid items we're concerned about. Like it appears that they will not mess around with the federal match on Medicaid expansion. So at least that's one piece. That looks like it's okay, but again, I'm worried about the overall federal Medicaid percentage piece.
Right,
So,
because if that's that could be really disastrous.
Yes. yes, for all.
Consequences for the counties.
Yes,
Because the cost right now, there's like a 50-50 split in the cost sharing between the federal government and the county for Medicaid. And if the federal government changes that match, then that cost ends up getting downshifted, most likely.
what had been rumored was a FMAP, federal medical assistant percentage, the federal share going down to 40%. That would not just be a 10% change to the county's liability, would be 20%.
Because we'd have to make up the delta lost by.
again, we're monitoring, well, myself, many, and other individuals within the Association of Counties monitoring developments on that side.
Thank you.
And obviously, we'll continue to work through the state, county finance commission to keep an eye on all things long-term care as well. So, because all stakeholders have a seat at that table, so.
Thank you, Chuck. Next, Jude Gates, our Senior Director of Facilities Operations and Operations.
Good afternoon. All is well in facilities. We are, like everyone else, busy. The grounds folks have worked really hard today to make sure that everything looks really nice so that it's really lovely for Mother's Day. I think they're doing a good job out there. The rooftop unit, the HVAC unit for F block was craned off yesterday. It was a little bit tricky because when they installed it, they actually also bolted through the ceiling down in the block, so they couldn't figure out why it wouldn't come off initially. They ended up having to get out and cut those bolts. It was very interesting. But we'll be ready for G block in a couple of weeks when that happens. The superintendent was very cooperative and got everybody out of our way. They moved into an empty block, so we kind of have free reign. The electricians are in there today. We're hoping that they'll have it passed over to us, controls and everything by next Thursday, and that'll give the superintendent and his team Friday, Monday, Tuesday to move back in and to move G block out. So things are going really well.
Wow.
We should be ready to do the backflow repair within a couple of weeks. We're waiting for a couple more parts. We'll give long-term care at least a week's notice. It's gonna be a big shutdown. It could be 8 hours, no water at all. So it's gonna be
Sorry,
tricky.
the mental was planning in my head on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do what we can to minimize it. They may be able to do the back one first, in which case if they do that, they can turn the water back on that side and then work on the front one.
Okay.
So you saw when we were in the room looking at it, it's like gigantic.
I know.
So it's a big job. It's an important job. We'll do what we can to minimize it. Other than that, we're also watching Eversource to see what's gonna happen if they're gonna get an increase in their rates for distribution, because we are still responsible for the distribution portion of our bill, even though we'll be providing our own supplies. So we're trying to keep an eye on that, see what's gonna happen. They haven't decided yet how it's gonna go. I think they have 3 more days next week.
That was like 15% hike
Yeah.
that they were looking in
Yeah.
distribution, and I found it kind of interesting that they're not pushing their rates, because we would make more money on the solar if they did that.
Exactly.
They're just pushing the rates on the distribution, so everybody who has
still pay.
solar loses.
Exactly. Well, I wonder.
That's for
So, yeah,
legislature
They're looking at that. As far as the new building goes, it was really wonderful to have you come through. It's nice to look at it from the standpoint of what it's gonna be like when we live in it instead of what we're working on every day. It was really, I really enjoyed the walkthrough. Thank you. We are waiting for permits from DES for the diesel generator tanks on the emergency generators and their waiver on well house number 2, because it's within the sanitary protective area until well 4 is up. We're waiting for DOT to finalize their review of the pedestrian improvements on Northburg. We're good to go on the water main. So we've got a lot of compliance issues that are pending, and we're ready to go as soon as we have our permits. So we're making really good progress.
Okay.
And other than that, I think I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're gonna head to Zoom land. County Attorney Conway, do you wanna?
Good afternoon. We're plugging away over here. We're super busy. We've got a lot going on at the courthouse this week in terms of hearings and other proceedings. And prepping for a child abuse case next week on a first-degree assault on an infant. So a lot going on here. We're very busy, but things are good.
Thank you. I see our Register of Deeds, Kathy Stacy.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, no, as usual, it's busy over here. The Seacoast is really booming with real estate closings. You saw our numbers at the end of last month. They're very good. And the only other thing I'm going to tell you is obviously we're keeping, as my position with the Association of Counties, we are watching what's happening up in Concord, because you just never know. And Commissioner Tom Borello, I would appreciate if you call me afterwards, because we need to talk to Senator Gannon on a piece of legislation that we need him to support. He was supposed to bring forth an amendment for us, and he's kind of balking. So I've called him, and I'm going to need you to call him as well. And other than that, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I see Erin Coker from the Sheriff's Department. I don't see anyone from the Sheriff's Department? Okay. I don't see them available, so we will continue on. Next, we have today a number of new business items. First, the finance office with respect to warrant for the environmental services labs.
Make a motion to approve the May 8, 2025 accounts payable warrant T 251047 payable to the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Labs in the amount of $5,619.63 as recommended by the Senior Director of Facilities, Planning and IT, and the Senior Director of Finance.
Second.
Any discussion? You want to speak, Director?
Well, the state's very strict on payment deadlines and it's too late to have this go into the regular bi-weekly run for next week. Because they require payment to be received by May 15th. There'll be fines and late fees assessed if it's late. So hence the request now.
And this is like taxes on emissions essentially, right?
Exactly.
So we're just paying our taxes, though we are pretty efficient. I think when I
We are,
this
right.
cost for taxes is incredible.
It's really low.
With the biomass plan, it's really environmentally efficient.
It's less than it was 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. Okay, Commissioner Tombrello.
Yes.
Commissioner Godu.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Next, we have a long-term care line item transfer.
A motion to approve a line item transfer request in the amount of $5,500 dated May 8, 2025, transferring PPS services to therapy equipment expandable as recommended by the Senior Director of Long-Term Care Services.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
I'll just, do you want to?
No, I'm happy if you don't have any questions. Essentially what it is, it's a modality that our therapy department does, and it's a crucial part of treatment, helps with pain and different functions for our residents. Unfortunately, our machine ended up dying, so it's impacting. So it's just doing a transfer to allow us to purchase the new machine so that our residents can continue to get the services that will benefit them.
Thank you. Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
Commissioner Tombrello.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Next, we have an exception request for a new appointment rate and human resources.
I'll make a motion to approve an exception request. Personnel policy 7-3, new appointment rate for long-term care services employee KL as recommended by the Senior Director of Human Resources.
Second.
Any discussion? Allison, do you have anything to share?
No, it's just, because we will not, it's only an accounts payable or whatever next week. This is over the midpoint and this individual won't give notice until they know what their
Yes.
wage is, so we don't wanna hold off.
Delay.
Thank you.
On the motion, Commissioner Tombrello.
Yes.
Commissioner Godu.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have Department of Corrections inmate administrative transfer.
I'll make a motion to approve an inmate administrative transfer pursuant to New Hampshire RSA 30-B:21 dated May 8, 2025, transferring one inmate to Merrimack County Department of Corrections as recommended by the Superintendent of Corrections.
Second.
Discussion? Just so everybody knows, this is just a procedural requirement when there's between the correctional facilities across the state. There's some transfer of individuals depending on needs of each correctional facility, or if there's conflict, or it could be a host of reasons. So part of the process statutorily is we have to approve it.
Basically, Jason doesn't like him, he wants him out.
That is not true.
If that was the case, the jail would be empty, probably.
Well, his population is lower than long-term care, so
Two
that's.
weeks in a row.
Hampton Beach will be adding to that, I'm sure.
Let me enjoy
Yes.
it while I can.
We do see an uptick in the summer, and we anticipate that will go up, especially with PCs. And,
Bail reform.
yeah, and the changes to bail reform that is coming down the pipeline, the end of magistrates, all sorts of things. So. Okay, on the motion, Commissioner Godu,
Yes.
Commissioner Tombrello,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, do we have any other new business or business?
Nope.
I think it's worth having a discussion about what, we have a lot of people in the community here. And what I want to bring up is the sheriff's engagement of, signing a contract with the federal government under 287G for holding ICE detainees. What I feel, I've learned that they actually signed their agreement, that they signed this contract with ICE. And what I feel, I don't think it's right. I think that this is, I talked about it in earnest when we were talking about holding in ICE detainees at the House of Corrections with respect to that they're not given due process, and that's very concerning, that we should not be holding and incarcerating people without due process. It is in conflict with the United States Constitution, but more importantly, our New Hampshire Constitution, which is even more protective than the United States Constitution. And what is so bothersome here about the Sheriff's Department engaging in this contract is that we have been sitting here talking about whether to sign contracts with ICE. And Superintendent Henry has been transparent in our discussions about this. And while this is going on, the Sheriff's Office is engaging in these contract negotiations or discussions and has offered no transparency. The way I learned about that there were even in thinking about engaging in this is when an article got published in the Boston Globe and mentioned it. And then Commissioner Godu, you followed up with them. They said they were at the very end of April, and they were considering, or they were looking into it. It turns out that contract is signed. We weren't given a chance to approve it. We weren't given a chance to look at it. And here we are sitting here. We know nothing about it, and we haven't been told about it. And there's been a lot of discussion. So I think this is wrong. And I think it's wrong to engage in this. And I know that there are a lot of people here, and I suspect they may echo some of those same sentiments in public comment. But I think from our seats as commissioners, we should have been made aware of it, and that we were not made aware of it while in the context of discussions about whether we are going to engage with the federal government with respect to ICE detainees. It's wrong that we're finding out about it by reading a Boston Globe article, not by being told and given transparency, especially when it's been a source of a lot of discussion before us.
Well, I'll just chime in since I'm the liaison with the Sheriff's Department. The contract that they have signed is for training. They currently, if in their regular course of doing business, they are in contact with somebody who has a detainee status. In other words, ICE is looking for them. Right now, they're not allowed, they're not qualified, they don't have the authority to hold that detainee until ICE gets there. They can call ICE up and say, hey, we got one of you guys that you're looking for, and but you got to get here. I'm on a traffic stop. We only got 20 minutes before, and then, so if ICE can't get there quick enough in the normal course of what they're doing, then they have to let them go. So with this training, they would be able to hold them long enough so that ICE would be able to come and engage with the person that has detainee status. So what they have signed up for is a procedural, it's part of a task force, but it's to get training for all of the officers so that they know what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do, and how to, behave properly. The other aspect that I just want to bring up is that this does seem to me like a purely operational aspect of the sheriff's office. And we generally don't vote or try to influence their operations. I don't know, they do firearms training, they do all different kinds of training, they got, internet sex trafficking training that they don't bring any of that to us. They just decide what training it is that they need. And this was one of them that they decided. So I don't think there's a foul, except that I too didn't learn about it until somebody brought it to my attention. And it would seem, since it's a controversial subject, that it might have been nice to know about it in advance, that it was going on. I don't like being in the dark, but I had discussions with them and I was satisfied that they were doing all right with it.
My take on it, I think most of the questions needs to be answered by the sheriff. I had some of you folks, maybe somebody in this room, I had a couple of calls last night at my house. I wasn't too happy. They were calling my cell phone. I've been engaged with the superintendent regarding ICE detainees. I went to Plymouth, I spent the day down there. We haven't made a decision on that. I can tell you, I drove in here, you guys didn't recognize me in black. When I drove in, there's a couple of signs that said, don't spend money. The sheriff's budget is set. There's no, if you look at the sheriff's budget, and I'll give you a copy of his, there's no line item that says ICE. So there's no extra money. A couple of you just held signs saying, where's our money going? There's no additional money for the ICE. So I'm caught off guard by them signing the contract, but you know, I talked to the major this morning, I talked to the sheriffs this morning. I think you folks need to call. I'll give you the sheriff's house number if you want. Instead of calling my house. And I'm not accusing anybody, but I don't think anybody should be calling my house at 8 o'clock at night to talk about ICE. So I think your questions need to be out back with Major Bashaw and the sheriff, you know, but there's no extra monies. I was kind of caught off guard with it. And the sheriff, I mean, the superintendent of the jail knows that I've been engaged with just looking to see if we're gonna put anybody else back. And if you watch the replays of the tape, I've said, I don't know if this is a good venue for these ICE detainees. I went to Plymouth and spent the day there, and there's about 1,500, right, superintendent, maybe 500 detainees and 1,000 inmates. It's a big jail, 1,500. And I looked at it, we went in the first one and it was okay. They had tablets, they were kicking a soccer ball around. And when I went to the third one, I didn't like what I looked at. It was a little scary for me to be in, but luckily I was with him and I was okay. I had a bodyguard. So I don't know if it's a perfect fit out back. We're only looking at it. We're only looking at it. When I talked to the major this morning, I said, tell me what happens. You pull a guy over. 50 or 60% of those people are people that just are here on an extended visa that have not checked in. So they need to reset, but they have to go somewhere. They have to go somewhere. If you Google where some of these ICE people going, there's some dark holes and some dark prisons. Outback is not a dark hole and a dark prison. They get fed, they're gonna be well taken care of, but this is how they have it. So I really want you guys, Chris Bashaw is supposed to be here at 5 o'clock. He's the major. He's gonna bring a bunch of his business cards. And I really ask you people to call them and ask, what are we doing? But there's no money. There's no money put aside. You look at our budget, we have line items for ammunition and cruises, and there's no ICE money. There's no ICE.
I just want to add one very quick thing. The training that they signed up for was at no charge.
But
So there was no cost to that.
if I may, there's a few points. One, the decision to engage in a contract with the federal government for ICE is a policy decision. It's not an operations decision. It's a policy decision. And I bet you haven't read that contract, and I bet you haven't read that contract, and I haven't read it either, because we weren't provided it, and we're being told to the extent that they were looking into it. As I understand it, Sheriff Macias had already signed his end of the contract. So it's completely disingenuous to be in this place where we are the policy makers. It's not operations, it's a policy decision that we should know about and make a decision on. It's not an operations decision. And I submit that we don't know that they're only doing training. I mean, that sounds good here, and I'm.
That's what I was told.
Right.
And you're right, I did not read the
We haven't
contract.
read the
It hasn't been presented to me.
And the other thing that bothers me
I
is
didn't know it was signed.
when you look at, exactly, and when you look at budget, so we're saying it doesn't cost anything. Well, we went around this complex with every department every department, and we gave everybody a goal of coming in at 4%. And why? Because we are in a budget crisis. In the sense of costs are going up, we're using more fund balance, and we're gonna run out of our savings account. We have like a 5-year window unless we do some drastic changes before we run out of a savings account or tax our community excessively. And there was one department that didn't adhere to the 4%, and that's the sheriff's department. They came in at 9.4% and basically without much movement at all. So they're coming in at 9.4, and I submit that there's still room there. Because although there isn't a specific ICE line, we have nothing to assure that they're not giving themselves extra resources in different ways. Their statutory function under our New Hampshire laws is civil process and transportation. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to do prisoner transport and service of process. And now they've grown. We all know that. But this is just beyond the pale, beyond the scope, that they're making this policy decision so far afield from service of process and transportation of prisoners and bailiffs. That's what they're statutorily prescribed to do. And that they did not even have the courtesy of letting us know they were thinking about this is just wrong. It's completely wrong. And when they come and say they're not going to change their budget or even entertain a reduction in their budget, I think that's tied directly into what's happening here. So.
I think we ought to be doing public comment.
Yes.
Since we've all, I guess we can be considered part of the public too.
Well,
but-
it's business. And I just learned
Right.
about it, that the contract signed. So that's something we need to take on.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So
with
these
that-
folks all came
these.
to talk to us.
individuals- Yeah. So now we move on to.
Oh, that was new business.
That was under new business.
I'm sorry. I thought you
And
were
that
taking
was
up the
my-
public
No,
comment part.
that
Okay.
was my new business that I wasn't aware until today that contract was signed, and I thought we should discuss it.
Okay.
Now we're moving on to public comment, and do you want me to just go around the room? How would you like to proceed? Is
Skip
there
wants to-
anyone you would like?
Skip wants to jump up. Skip's ready. Skip's been ready since he walked in.
Oh,
Sure.
I'd love to hear what other commissioners think about this. before we
No,
get to the-
there's only 3 commissioners.
so we are the 3 commissioners. So you've heard. So these are all different directors and department heads in different sectors of the county. And so now we're moving on to public comment, which is the opportunity for members of the public to speak with respect to anything they want to say, any matter whatsoever, frankly. So.
Well, thank you, commissioners. It's really an education, I think, for all of us to sit through part of your meeting and to understand the issues that you're all dealing with. I was a part of the county delegation some years ago. Spent some time with Mr. Nickerson on various things. I didn't relish those times of dealing with financial issues, and it sounds like you've really got a hard go ahead dealing with that. So, but I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk with you about my concerns in regards to this, and I'll cut right to the chase, and it does have to do with financial issues. I hear that our sheriff's officers are going to be trained. The training is free from ICE, but those officers are being taken off of their regular duties. And I'm familiar with those duties, having been in court any number of times, having spent a little time in the jail as a
You
visitor.
don't look like that kind of guy.
So, I am familiar with some of those responsibilities that the sheriff's department has, and I appreciate them. But I can't imagine that it's, I believe, 40 hours of training. That's a week's work. And when those people are getting their free training, someone has to come in and take their place. So there is a financial impact on their operating budget. And I think that that's an issue that we all need to acknowledge, and as a taxpayer in this county, I'm from Exeter, by the way. I'm Skip Garion, and I should have introduced myself to start with. I'm from Exeter, and so I am concerned that our tax dollars are being diverted to something which I don't approve of. And I think there are many of the media reports which raise real concerns about the way in which ICE works. And I think that once the public hears that that our sheriff's officers are in some capacity, and I think that's unclear exactly what that capacity will be, that they're working with ICE, that suddenly our sheriffs who do a very capable job and are a part of our community are suddenly envisioned as people coming in with face masks on and apprehending people indiscriminately off the street. So those are my concerns that I think we need to all be aware of. And I would hope that maybe the commissioners might have some control. The contract's already signed, but do you have some control over the existing operating budget of that department at this time to be able to control this situation? So those are my
Thank you.
comments, and I
Thank you.
think maybe some others might have something to say as well.
Great. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us and for speaking. Is there anyone else who'd like to, do you want to just go down would it be okay if we'll go through and whoever wishes to speak?
Hi, I'm Gail from Exeter, and I still have nightmares about those images of people being scooped up in chains, bent over. And what did they do wrong? No due process whatsoever, nothing. This is not our country. We don't act like this. The fact that this is potentially happening in our state, in our town, there are a lot of people who are very concerned. We all come from immigrants. We're all derived from immigrants, a very simple concept that many people don't know. And it's just abominable and actually nightmares kind of stuff. Please, thank you for your honesty today. I learned a lot, and I'm glad I came. And please follow it up in any way. We'll be back and we'll probably quadruple in size.
Yeah, can I ask you a question? You watched the TV pilot where they got off the plane and they were all chained up. They had machine guns and they shaved their heads. Everybody had tattoos. Do you think that that's what we're getting over here? Or do you think that we're not gonna round them up?
I think anything's possible if.
I was sick to see it too. I didn't like seeing it. That's inhuman to see it.
If
And I
ICE
didn't
is
like it, but
involved,
that's not what we're getting.
I think some of the ICE people could be people who were at the January insurrection. They're out of jail and they are fired up. And I'm sorry, that might sound way out there to some of you, but that's my belief.
Thank you. Next.
I would like to know, as citizens, what we can do. What can you do if this contract was signed unbeknownst to you? Is there any recourse?
So.
Sure, we'll discuss.
Yeah, I'm sorry, in public comment, we really don't respond. You can ask the questions, but this is sort of a further board discussions. Thank you.
Hi, John Kemp, also from Exeter. I read the Globe article. And I just said to myself, and I made some phone calls. I don't know if I could get through to any of you. I can't use these things very well. I tried. But just, what is the problem in Rockingham County that we're trying to solve? That ICE is gonna help us? Have we defined that? What are we hoping to get from ICE? And then who is ICE? Where do they come from? What are they actually training? What's happening? I've lived here for 30, 40 years. I think it's a great part of the country. I know there are problems in various places. Do we have a problem here that we need ICE to be involved in our policing? It seems to me that And again, I'm really honored to be here with you guys. I'm retired. I remember meetings like this. And it's really hard to run a big organization. And I think we're all kind of struggling. But we're also beginning to ask questions about how are we doing this and who's doing it and what's behind it. So again, I hope you guys can work it out. And I think there are a lot of people in the community. I'm not sure if we understand it completely. Again, my family scatters all over New England and up into Canada. And since that Globe article, was it on Sunday? Yeah, you know, a lot of phone calls, a lot of people kicking things around. And my family includes conservatives and liberals and people who sometimes don't talk so friendly anymore to each other. But on this one, there are several pretty conservative people. And they're saying, you know, this is not what we should be doing here. And that might be Maine, New Hampshire, and Canada. And I think people are really concerned when they've seen what's going on. And so who is ICE? And I actually have to run, but I'm honored to be here. Thank you guys all for doing what you do for this part of New Hampshire.
I'm just gonna give you my cell. Can I, do you have I'll give you my cell phone in case you wish to call. If you want to call directly, I'll give everybody my cell, which is.
No,
I'm sorry, I don't hear well.
Okay.
I've been, yeah, but a lot of old things. I'm glad to be here and I don't think I'm the only one in our neighborhood. And all around New England, I think a lot of people are talking about this and thank you.
Thank you.
I'm on my way for it.
Good afternoon. May I just tell you, I'm Kevin Fleming from Exeter. Well, and I have great regard for Rockingham County. We know the nursing home for a long time, and Rockingham County as an operation, I think, has a great reputation. I just am concerned that we wouldn't want the law enforcement to be associated with ICE if that's going to have a negative effect in the thought. And I think too about just when someone needs the sheriff, I'm thinking Hampton Beach somewhere, that if they don't think they can approach a law enforcement officer of a situation, that makes it dangerous. But the other thing is, I did ask, when I heard of it too, in the Globe article, I did talk to a state rep, like, what's going on in this? Is there something that will be done? He said, Kevin, that's been in the budgets for months. So it's a done deal. So to the degree to which you folks might be bothered that somehow you weren't aware of it, just the state rep was dismissive of me as even bringing it up because it's something that's already been decided. So if there's something we need to just be attentive to or thoughtful about, we appreciate your candor in allowing us today, but also just to continue the good work of Rockingham County.
Thank you. Would either of you wish to speak?
I just want to say, I hate to have New Hampshire and Rockingham County associated with the tactics of ICE. And I think that it's, they do not give due process and think that, we should not be a part of it.
Thank you. Would you mind kindly stating your name just so we can make a record? Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Jenny Varian from Exeter as well.
Oh, thank you. Would you wish to speak?
With that again?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm thinking about this preliminary action by the sheriff's office allowing training from ICE. But that's all that's budgeted. However, we all are aware of the slippery slope. And once get that taken care of, then you go to the next thing, which may be a contract with ICE to do this. And I think that we need to be out there protesting and somehow it needs to stop. I'm not sure how it's done legally, but I think that something needs to be done and you need to learn more.
Thank you.
I concur. I'm Sharon Lee and I'm from Exeter, but I just feel like that slippery slope is real. And they gotten a first step. I mean, we didn't know that it was budgeted and yet people in Congress did. I don't understand. There's a lot of it. Mostly I just want to express my concern and fear that, this is gonna be part of this quiet movement in the direction that I don't agree with. Certainly don't think we ought to arrest people who don't even have any reason to be arrested and sending them to some horrible place. So that's sort of the end result of what you sort of see this snowballing from my perspective.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Marcia Odell, also from Exeter. We're obviously Exeter is well represented here. I don't come from a family of attorneys, and I'm not an attorney myself, but it's occurred to me that we are, as a county, potentially putting ourselves at risk if ICE or the sheriff's department are sued for whatever might happen in the engagement of this work. And the last thing I want to see is our resources, which are limited and finite, going into having to defend ourselves against possible anti-constitutional activity that may be led by ICE, but which we are considered a party of. I think it's a very important piece we need to think about. Thank you.
Malcolm Odell, the other half here, and I agree completely. I've sent a letter, an email to you all outlining my points, but I'd just like to add one more thing. Anything that's in the budget can also be removed from the budget.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Williams. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner in community mental health in Rockingham County. I live in Exeter. And when listening to everyone, what I was thinking about is my clientele is very vulnerable. And sometimes the sheriffs transport them to places that they don't want to go. And they have trust issues to start with. So now you have ICE connotations to the sheriffs that are bringing them to places that they don't understand. And I think that's a problem. But for their safety, they can't always speak for themselves because they're being involuntarily brought somewhere. And now they're seeing all these things on TV and thinking about people that are transporting them are the people that they see on TV, grabbing people. So that trouble.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm sorry for showing up late and missing probably some very valuable and interesting testimony. I'm Jack Chiggers. I live in East.
He does have a raffle, and you're not in the raffle.
I always lose. Throw that my face. Anyways, I just want to register my opposition to this. Are you folks the commissioners down the Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm Steve, I'm Tom, now it's gonna be Steve for a minute. Anyway.
Okay, well, thanks. I just don't think it's appropriate for local law enforcement to be collaborating with ICE. The federal government has more than enough resources to go after illegal immigrants if they so choose. We've already seen many uses in the way ICE operates, with innocent people being picked up, with people being sent out of the country, deported, even though there's a judicial order prohibiting that. Let's not get involved with that. The woman over here from Exeter made an excellent point. People are going to start suing. If you guys are, if our sheriff's office is participating in these roundups and they're unconstitutional, there's going to be a raft of lawsuits filed against you, and to the extent that it's going to cost Rockingham County, government so much money and increase our taxes. Let's not go there. Let the feds be the feds, and enforcement of immigration is a federal jurisdiction. There's no need for the sheriff to get involved in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Skip.
So, I'm Kevin Coyle from Portsmouth, and a former commissioner. A couple of things. One, they've signed a 287 agreement. That's not just for training. That's an agreement that says they can allows them to stop and hold somebody. So it's not just a training agreement they've signed. They've signed a full 287 agreement. The reason why I know that is because I did a 91A request and they produced it. And that they haven't told you that I had to get that from 91A is concerning. But what I'm more concerned about is the potential for the Department of Corrections to be holding to be essentially holding federal prisoners. And I don't ever think you should do it for the money, just because you can make a potential profit. The jail is to hold inmates of Rockingham County. and the departments that pay taxes to us. It was not designed to hold federal prisoners. If we take on a 50 or 100 or 150, as has been proposed, sure, you might get some revenue. But do we want to be on that side of history? Do we want to be holding 150 immigrants where we're only holding 130 prisoners? I mean, is it worth the money? Is it worth the money for your soul? Not for me. Like I am a lawyer and I've been trained and I believe in due process. And what we see is there's no such thing as due process under the federal government. And so I don't think as a citizen of Rockingham County, as a former commissioner, that we should have anything to do with that. And if you think that the sheriff's department, who has grown exponentially since I was a commissioner, isn't going to be involved in ICE raids, I've got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn, because they will be. They have expanded that department extraordinarily beyond what it is statutorily mandated to the tune of almost $9 million a year. No, more than $9 million. And two of you have voted to give them a 9% increase this year. If you think that's not going to be used for ICE, again, I have a bridge to sell you. You need to get control because you guys have fiscal problems, and the fiscal problems, a third of the increase in taxes this year is attributable to the sheriff's department. And you know that, and you should not tell everybody here that there's no increased cost, because you know the sheriff's department is going up almost $800,000. Yeah, that's all I have.
Can I ask a question? I'm confused about the funding business. It seemed like we understood that there was no funding being allocated for this training, and yet we're losing service to these people. So there is a loss. I don't know how we make up that financial loss, but, and then somebody else said that they talked to a senator, they talked to somebody in Concord, and they said that they knew, and no, none of you all knew about it. You are on the ground, you know, you're right there where you're supposed to be. So I'm confused about what we can do, what you can do. I mean, I know you probably don't want to go into this without taking out on yourself. It just feels like I can't get a grasp on how we're funding this without funding it.
Thank you.
I'm concerned on two levels. One, as a grandmother of 13 children, 5 of which are in US colleges right now and are well known for having diverse opinions, loudly spoken to anybody who will listen, and many of us who don't. And I'm worried about what we've seen with college kids being picked off the street by people dressed all in black, wearing masks, no identification. I mean, how do we know that that woman, the graduate student from Tufts, wasn't just simply kidnapped? We only found out because somebody upstairs on the 3rd floor was taking a phone video. Otherwise, we would know not a thing. I'm worried for my children, and I'm worried for all of us with the lack of due process. And being here today was informative, but you've scared me stupid with the fact that the sheriff's department is out there underground, undercover, snaking through, building up a budget, and in cahoots already with ICE. And my representatives on the ground didn't know. I find that shocking.
Thank you. Oh, could you kindly give your name?
Oh, sorry, May Youngclaws, Exeter.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone? Oh, I'm sorry, we have some Zoom, yes. I think Sarah, I'm sorry, I can't read your last name on the Zoom.
Cornell, Sarah Cornell. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
So my name is Sarah Cornell. I am from Portsmouth. I am extremely proud to have been able to witness the other public comment today. I have also written to the commissioners, and I am finding it extremely encouraging to hear how you think through these issues. So I'd like to just say some things out loud. The sheriff didn't attend this meeting, for the record. The sheriff's not in the room. He could have been. He isn't. No one from the sheriff's department was there to do even a departmental report. I don't believe the sheriff's office should have the training, even if it is just training, should not happen, again, for all of the reasons people have said above. Commissioner Coyle, the way that you talked about a few other issues, like this price increase is related to a different price increase, it's coming down to us. The ICE agreements are a trick. They are a way that the federal government is passing on costs. And saying, oh, it's free, it should not be taken at face value. It really should not. And then something that I think it was Commissioner Tombrello said, that do we think that the mass of human bodies that we saw in chains would happen here? Are those what they would find here? No, they're going to find our neighbors. People that we know and that we love, that make our food, that walk their dogs next to us. That is what we're talking about. We are talking about our neighbors. We're talking about people we trust, people we work with, people that live with us here are in danger and will lose the possibility of due process. Yeah, some of them might not be here with all their papers, but we have an assumption of due process. If they don't have due process, neither do I. But it doesn't really matter about me. What really matters is the fact that they have due process too. So what we would end up seeing is just regular old people having their car windows smashed in and having it turn out to not be the right person. And I don't want to be a part of that. And I'm just extremely proud that I have a chance to be here and just, say my piece along with these other, I think, dozen people. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on Zoom from the public? Okay. All right, well, that concludes public comment. We now, this is the point that we move into non-public session. So we're going to kindly ask everyone to depart. Thank you very much for coming today and being part of the commissioners meeting. You're welcome to come.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very great.
Yes.
Thank you.
My dad used to say it's the
With that,
I actually have 13 birthdays.
sure.
Margaret and today.
Thank you. It's my fault for not asking.
Okay.
No, I will take a motion to enter this non-public.
That's what I would love to. I promise.
Wait a minute.
Motion to enter non-public. Tom, second my motion. Second.
A little business going on. Thank you for listening. That was very
I think
kind.
we're gonna get Lexi's.
Thank you.
No, and Papa pick up Lexi's. Chrissy's at at La Paso 6:30. Kristen's bringing her.
Kevin, sticking around?
You're going to non-public, right?
Going back out?
I'm down, yeah.
The so-called rule of seven.
Who made the motion and who seconded it?
I made the motion, Tom seconded it. We have
On
to
the
take a
motion,
vote.
Commissioner Godu.
Yes.
Commissioner Godu, and I vote yes.
20 years combined.
Okay, so what's the?
Hang on,
Okay.
hold on,
All right,
I'm leaving.
Well, you get no non-public